holding your questions, and then we'll have a little bit of a question period. All right?
Great.
With that, let's get started. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Arnie. Just to start off with, I just want to mention that one gentleman in the front said the only reason he's here is because there's nothing else to do. Okay, well, we don't want to mention any names. Yeah. Okay. So, just to start with, as a disclosure, I'm not a doctor, and you're here hearing about health advice. I don't know why you're here. Why do you listen to somebody like me? Well, one of the things that AI does is give you access to pretty much all of humanity's knowledge. So if you know how to use AI, you can become quite knowledgeable on lots of different things. Now, this first talk that I'm going to present to you, Lake Chapala, A Smarter Way to Grow Younger, is really more about more practical things, not so much to do with AI. We'll mention a bit of the new things that are coming along towards the end of this talk, but this is actually a presentation I did for Open Circle back in December. Was anybody there at that one? Okay, good. Nobody. It was very popular. Actually, we had like 300 people there. But there's also a handout, which if you were on Facebook, you might have noticed that the handout is actually there on Facebook. We're going to send it out as well in an email along with the link to the video, which the famous videographer Rhonda Newcomb is responsible for. Okay, so let's dive in. So before I get into this, who here has heard of the blue zones? Okay, quite a few people. Blue zones are areas in the world where they've noticed that people tend to live a long time, often over 100. And so there was this one researcher who went around exploring why is that the case. So he actually discovered quite a few different not so much that it was their DNA, but it was more to do with lifestyle. So this first part of our talk is to do with the lifestyle we have available here at Lake Chapala actually lends itself to be kind of like a blue zone. Not exactly, but there's a lot of things that are available here if we take advantage of them. So what we're going to go through today again, and I'll read some of this because I figured people in the back probably cannot read this. But okay, so what we're going to cover today is this whole idea of being intentional with your health. So there are going to be tips on how to take advantage of Lakeside's natural health offering. Then we're going to get into this AI app, this idea of being able to use AI to develop a custom exercise plan that you can either do at home or in the gym. And we'll do a demonstration of that. So that's kind of the three parts of today. And the handout that I mentioned actually summarizes the first part of this quite well. And unfortunately, we were going to have it ready today, but the printer I don't think was open so for some reason. Okay, so we're going to talk maybe 35, 40 minutes about these 6 health pillars and how to apply them in your daily life. Then we'll get into maybe 15, 20 minutes of this creating a customized physio and exercise plan, and then we'll get also into Q&A as well. So a quick poll. Who is interested in living to 100 plus if you're in good health? So some people are not willing to live to 100 plus in good health, so I think you may leave now. So usually when people get asked this question, they're thinking about, well, everybody they know that were 100 or higher tend to be in fairly major decline, and they don't want to do that. But what happens if, in fact, at 100, you're like you were at age 40? That's what we're talking about in this. So if we ask the question, who would like to stay as healthy as you were at age 40, assuming you were healthy at age 40, at age 100, who would like to do that if you were at that? Okay, so fewer people. No, this kidding. Okay, so who is following the advances that we're seeing recently in the last couple of years, in particular in healthy life extension? Anybody following that a lot closely? A few. And who wants to get and stay healthy for as long as possible? These are not, I mean, not ever, you would be surprised. Some people say no, and maybe I've had enough, which is fine, whatever. There's no right answer. Okay, one thing I like to go over is the advantages that Lakeside gives us. So you might have noticed that we have a great culture and atmosphere that lends itself towards health. You can walk everywhere. There's a lot of community, especially in a place like El Parque. You probably know somebody who moved to Lakeside who had health issues that actually got better. And it's quite possible for, based on some of these 6 things that we're going to go over. So my job today is to convince you to recognize these health benefits and to actually be intentional with your health, assuming you want to stay healthy. So the first pillar, there's 6 pillars I'll go over that are quite common and easy to access while you're here in the Lake Chapala area, although also in other places. The first one, and maybe one of the most important one, is movement. So the idea here is the more we move, the more healthy we'll be. It's pretty simple. You've heard about this with steps. You know, counting your steps and movement is important, whether you're swimming, doing Tai Chi, walking, hiking, pickleball, whatever it might be, doesn't really matter. Movement is very important for staying healthy. In fact, probably the most important thing that we'll go over today. But there is something else I want to introduce to you that you may not have heard of, something called VILPA, V-I-L-P-A. It stands for Vigorous Intermittent Lifestyle Physical Activity. And these represent short bursts of activity that make you somewhat out of breath, whether it's walking up a flight of stairs or going down, up and down a couple flight of stairs, or it could be your tennis game or pickleball game or whatever it might be. So instead of just walking, if you actually introduce like a speed up when you're walking, or a run, or going uphill, or going up some stairs to get you out of breath, just 4 minutes of that a day has been shown to lower all-cause and cancer mortality by 26 to 30%. Just that, 4 minutes a day of getting out of breath. And that's all that Bill needs most days. So. Anyway, but the other thing is consistency over intensity. So it's not so much you have to do this for 40 minutes and kill yourself, but more to do that you have some kind of regular exercise plan that gets you to do this. So this has to do with creating healthy habits. And the most important thing is movement, and to build into that movement some VILPA. The next pillar is food, and this is not surprising. And a lot of this stuff is pretty much Mother Earth stuff. You know this. We have it available to us, but the question is whether we're taking advantage of it. So, by far, the best kind of sources of food are plants and also protein. So the idea is to focus on meals that have protein and vegetables as their core. It's certainly available here. You know, the vegetables that are here are plentiful and a lot cheaper than they are north of the border. The other thing is to avoid ultra-processed foods. Any kind of food that has a long list of ingredients in it on the package probably is not good for you. And the idea here is to keep it simple, keep your habits simple when it comes to food. The next pillar is sleep. So having a regular sleep cycle is incredibly important. This kind of stuff we've heard about, but the research which is coming out that's more advanced in looking into the actual benefits of sleep is now getting more and more convincing that both things like movement, diet, and sleep are extraordinarily important to how long you live and how healthy you stay. So one of the important things is to actually get some daylight as early as you can in the morning. In other words, don't stay inside till noontime and then go on your walk, but try to get out even for 10 minutes and have the sun hit you for a few minutes. That actually has very strong regulation of mood and metabolism effects on your body. The other thing is consistent bedtime, to actually go to sleep at the same time and have roughly the same amount of hours of sleep is also shown to be very helpful as far as health. So, green go midnight is probably a good habit. The other thing to keep in mind is your sleep is actually the time when your brain has a chance to kind of clean itself out. A quality sleep will power your energy, your mood, and your healing, and your thinking power. So sleep as your body's repair system, look at it that way. And when you sleep well, you recover better, you think more clearly, and you have more energy for movement and connection. The next pillar is stress, or stress downshifting. Chronic stress accelerates aging. So the idea here is to train your nervous system to spend more time in repair mode. Now, of course, this also is easy to do at Lakeside, as all these have been so far. We have a nice pool. We can go to nature and walk around pretty easily here. So this atmosphere, this environment, certainly lends itself to all of these pillars of health if we take advantage of it. However, if you stay in your house or mostly just watch CNN on TV, your stress level will stay high. It doesn't matter where you are, it's what you do that counts. But this environment lends itself to giving us the opportunity to take advantage of things that really do help us be and stay healthy. Other ways of reducing stress have to do with breathing practice or breathing exercises. So even 5 minutes of slow, deep breathing resets your stress response in your body. Also, meditation or prayer, the same thing. And likewise, nature walks have been shown, like they actually study people's brains after going on nature walks and see that it has really reset stress levels lower. So these aren't just wise tales, these are actually now supported by scientific research. The next pillar is social connection or social muscle. And it's also important to actually think of this intentionally. Now, at Lakeside, you don't have any choice. You have to be social, pretty much. It's very hard to not be social here. So in one sense, we have this covered, whether you want it or not. But nevertheless, it's important to look at it as an important part of being healthy. Social connection isn't just another extra. It's actually been shown that a very strong relationship between social connection and mortality risk, in other words, your risk of dying in the next year, is quite strong. In fact, as strong as quitting smoking. So you'll usually hear that the worst thing for the health we could possibly do is smoke. But it turns out isolation is almost on par with smoking as far as risk to your health. So keep in mind that it's important. So we have lots of things we can do for that: clubs, classes, walking, pickleball, etc. So whatever obviously you're going to do and stick with it and be consistent with it is the important thing. The last pillar is pillar number 6. It has to do with brain health or brain gym. And one thing that we have, that we are fortunate to have is the challenge in learning Spanish. Now, some people here may already be fluent, but most of us are not, and we have the opportunity to stay with it or keep practicing to actually help fit into this culture. But besides doing that, it turns out that actually learning Spanish is also very good, or learning any language, turns out to be very good for your brain. So even 10 or 15 minutes a day of practice consistently will actually really help your, what they call executive function. In fact, there was a study done in Barcelona in Spain that showed that people that were regular students of language showed between 25 to 50% slower executive function decline. In other words, they didn't decline mentally by about 50, between 25 to 50% slower than somebody who wasn't doing that. And these were for people that were 70 plus, by the way. So learning a language and similarly learning a musical instrument more or less has the same benefit mentally in terms of keeping us young. So all 6 of these pillars that we just went through are in abundance here at Lakeside if we take advantage of them. But it's up to us to do that. Beyond that, there's now newer things that we can actually take advantage of. For instance, we're going to be talking about using AI to help with developing an exercise plan later on. But also there are things like wearables, you know, the Apple Watch or or what do you call those? Fitbits, and other things. There's probably dozens and dozens of them, or hundreds of them now that have come out that we can wear on our body that actually help gather data about what our patterns are with our health. So including things like our blood sugar level, that could actually measure how we respond to different foods, to our heart rate, how it varies depending on what we're doing, that kind of thing. So what's nice about AI is that it can actually take the data that we're gathering, and this is now just coming on, the ability to hook up AI, or artificial intelligence programs, to the data that we're collecting through our wearables is now getting more and more advanced, so that now we can have a whole platform of looking at our screen and saying, okay, here's our patterns, and here's what's good and what's bad, and here's what we should adjust in terms of our lifestyle. So that now is getting even more and more powerful. So that kind of extra feedback is yet to really be felt in our society, because these tools are just coming on, and in terms of the AI integration, in terms of being able to analyze that. So the idea here is to consider trying out some of these things. They're getting cheaper and cheaper, as well as looking into how you go about using an AI to actually interpret the data that you're collecting. And the idea here would just be to start simply, like pick one wearable, whatever it is, and get used to it and see how it works. And then maybe in a year or two, you might try something different. So that's the idea here. Now, the key thing to remember is that AI itself and also these wearables don't replace a doctor or a physician or your healthcare provider. It's more of a tool for you to get more information about your health. But still, it's recommended that this is a tool that you work with your doctor on, with your health professionals. So the other thing that we could get into is the future of longevity. And in my opinion, being a futurist, and I call myself a retirement futurist, that we're on the edge, I think within 10 years, of being able to access more or less indefinite healthy lifespans. In addition to that, rewinding the clock. In fact, those two things go hand in hand. We're not there yet, and that's speculative what I just said. We don't know that for sure. But the advances are happening very, very fast on the back of the advances of AI. AI is increasing in its capability, in its power, by about 40% every year. And the actual curve that represents is so steep, we can't really imagine what it will have, what capabilities it will have within even 2 or 3 years. Even the most advanced people in the AI world are reluctant to forecast anything beyond 4 or 5 years out. They can't see, because they really cannot compute how AI could actually be of benefit. Now, of course, there are risks, lots of risks. But we're talking here more about this fundamental health issues. That AI as a helper will become more and more powerful. This ties into my early inspiration in the world of technology and AI was a book called The Singularity is Near by a guy by the name of Ray Kurzweil. And he was one of the earliest futurists to make forecasts way back 30, 40 years ago. It has now been shown to be the most accurate. He's been forecasting what they call artificial general intelligence for over 40 years to happen in about, he's predicting in about 10 years. Now, most people think it'll happen sooner than that. He still thinks it's 5 or 10 years out. But nevertheless, his book was quite inspirational to me, and one of the principles that he talked about in his book were the 3 bridges to longevity. The first bridge is more or less where we are now. we can actually work on our health habits. We can actually do something about the environment we're in, and we're in a very good supportive environment. Those are things we have some control over right now. So the idea here is to optimize our daily choices having to do with what we talked about: movement, the food, the sleep, the stress, the connection, and the brain learning. All these things are important for us to optimize our health, and it's really easy to do it here. In many other places, not so easy. That leads us to the next bridge, if we live that long. That next bridge, you might say, would be the biotechnology world of AI-enhanced biotechnology. This is already coming out. For instance, I was just reading yesterday that the cost of a full human genome, which started out at, I think it was like $2 billion, just reached $100 to get your entire genome done. $100. So it's pretty easy to predict that an entire genome analysis will soon be integrated with AI's ability to help you decide what's best for your health, your individual health. So it's still debatable, but they think that genetics make up around 40% of our normal health and longevity. It used to be lower, but very recently, at least in the last 2 months, they've done studies that showed it's actually a little higher than we thought, which is kind of good and bad. It means that that we don't have much control over that 40% because we have our genes, whatever they are. But it also means that genetic or gene therapies, which are coming on very quickly, could be even more powerful than we thought in terms of curing disease and helping general optimize health. So that's really the world of Bridge 2, AI-enhanced biotech. So that has to do with better diagnostics, which could include genome, other interventions, smarter health monitoring, and all these things are now emerging. They're not widely available, but everything is really moving so fast that it probably will be pretty soon. Getting through that bridge, however long that takes us, to how old we might be, leads us to the possibility of this possible age reversal, 10, 15 years out, is my best guess. And that has to do with cellular repair. So in other words, therapies or gene therapies that can actually repair you from the cellular level up. That includes the world of regenerative medicine. We're already seeing some of that happening with the stem cell clinics even here, as well as other advanced therapies that are coming on stream very quickly. So that stuff is still in the experimental stage for sure, but nevertheless, that next bridge offers the promise of kind of indefinite healthy lifespans. There's a whole argument whether that's a good idea or not, but that's another topic. So each of these bridges helps you kind of reach the next one. So the idea is, if you're curious about how the world might unfold, that the idea is to stay healthy long enough to catch the next bridge. As an aside or a footnote, I thought this was kind of interesting. This has to do with what would happen if, through all these interventions, people, in this case, this is looking at the United States only, lived one more year in healthy life. In other words, your healthy lifespan was extended by 1 year. What would be the value to the U.S. economy, as an example? And they've done an analysis that it would be $38 trillion for 1 year of healthy life extension. So there's sick health, and then there's a sick life, which usually at the end of life, and then there's healthy life, which is hopefully now until maybe pushed out further. So 1 extra year means $38 trillion. Now, one of the things that can really undermine us all is the debt crisis in the United States. Now, we have mirrors of that in different places, including Canada. So the idea of, and so similar benefits to each economy would probably accrue for us to stay healthy. So if you don't want to stay healthy for yourself, do it for everybody else. So it's really quite something. So if it was 10 years, and a lot of the AI and longevity researchers are saying, our goal is to keep people extend healthy lifespans for a decade, for 10 years. In the United States, that would be $367 trillion. That pretty much takes care of our worries around Social Security or the debt. That would be similar in other countries as well. So the whole idea of having a longevity dividend is also one of the motivations for me to be in this world, is to inspire the world that these kinds of tools are becoming available, and it might be the thing that actually saves us from incredible financial crises that could develop without this kind of future. So that's just a footnote. Okay, so what we want to do is stay healthy and catch the next bridge. Other things that could help us get there are some of the things that are coming in terms of the world of AI, and that has to do with agentic AI, or AI agents. The AI agents are different from just prompting or typing something into a ChatGPT and getting an answer. Agentic AI has to do with giving the AI different tasks to achieve, and it does it on its own. One of the things they measure is how long AI can go out and do stuff on its own and then report back to you. And just recently, the record was just achieved 11 hours. So a very complex task that somebody gave to, in this case it was Claude. Claude is one of the AI tools. It actually now has the ability to go out and spend 11 hours doing what you asked it to do and then come back to you. So in other words, it doesn't stop for that 11 hours, and the amount of computation and work that it's doing would probably be, 20 years of a team of researchers, the equivalent of that. So that kind of ability of AI will likely speed up advances in all areas, in terms of all endeavors. Another thing that to watch out for, we already mentioned this, is the idea of continuous diagnostics having to do with wearables. So it won't be that we'll have to plug in our phone or our watch to our computer, but it will actually tie in online to the AI tools that we have set up to monitor us on an ongoing basis. This is already happening with some people who have been given certain wearables who have certain health problems that is hooked up to their doctor's office, so they can actually be notified if there's some kind of a sudden health event or one of their indicators has gone into the red. Other things that are coming are robotics, and this is the year that we're going to see humanoid robots being shipped. It's already happening right now, but it'll be in the thousands and hundreds of thousands, and maybe the millions by the end of this year. That humanoid robots will show up in places of work as well as homes, and this is going to accelerate more and more and more. There's a controversial figure, Elon Musk, who runs Tesla. Elon Musk was recently interviewed, and he feels that his robot company will be something in the order of 10 to 100 times more valuable than the car company, than the Tesla company. In other words, he sees himself, that company, shipping out millions and millions and millions, and then eventually billions. So there is a projection that within about 15 to 20 years, there will be more humanoid robots than there are people on the earth. So hard to believe, but we'll start seeing it in the near future. So you'll start believing it when you see someone walk by here, or doing the pool aerobics as an instructor. Okay, so this is not science fiction. It's just that it's coming, and it's not widely available yet, but it is coming. Some recent. I was asking people who's following breakthroughs in health and wellness. Well, these things are just happening. It's very hard to keep track of. Every day I'm seeing multiple, what I would call breakthroughs. It used to be a breakthrough might occur, 2 or 3 times a year, if that. Now it's like 2 or 3 a day. And a couple I just pulled out from the stream of stuff that I see. One was cartilage regrowth, which is interesting for some people. This is new method, this is from Stanford, to regenerate joint tissue without surgery, so it's an injection. So imagine not having to go through the operations a lot of us do. Or another study on eye rejuvenation, restoring vision and reversing age-related decline, including macular degeneration. That's a new therapy as well. Hearing loss solutions, and regenerative approaches to restore hearing function. And so that's quite important for us losing our hearing. I'm sure my wife will ask me to get that as soon as possible. And then there's growing new tissue. The idea of actually growing tissue in the lab and then using it to repair people that have tissue damage or actually replace entire parts of your body with lab-grown tissue. These are all things that have recently been, that are now real things. But that's just a sampling, and I would say that I could give you another 10 by tomorrow morning, like this. Okay, so we just kind of gone through a lot of things about basic principles or the pillars of health and how our environment here lends itself quite well for us to take advantage of those if we are intentional about it. Nevertheless, you can always go back and say movement and exercise is the #1 intervention right now for all of us in terms of staying healthy. So hence the next part of our show is having to do with taking advantage of AI to actually help us exercise better, more accurately for our needs. So this is just a quote from another researcher. Exercise is the best longevity drug on the planet. Muscle is the organ of longevity, and exercise is how you preserve it. So vigorous exercise staves off cancer, cardiovascular disease, and dementia. So again, we can talk about all these interesting things and what's coming, but still exercise is #1. So with that, we want to switch into our next part, which will be the tool. But before we do that, let me just stop and see if there's any questions on what we've covered so far. And Arlene has a mic she can go to.
Does altitude have any sort of effect?
Wait for the microphone so everybody can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Wondering if,
To your mouth. Yeah.
at an altitude, changing in altitude, does that have any effect on you? Like, this is basically sea level, and we are below 5,000 feet here, give or take. Does that have any sort of an effect on?
The question is whether higher altitude has some effect on health. And I don't know the answer, I'm not a doctor. But I can say that there are some people who can't take higher altitudes. In fact, as you probably know, we run a program on helping people move to Mexico, Lakeside in particular. And that we've had a number of people that have moved, that tried to move here and found out after the fact that the altitude was what prevented them. They couldn't health-wise stay here. So it depends. At the same time, if I think higher altitude means that your body has to be able to be more efficient at using the oxygen that's available to you. So in one sense, you would think that higher altitude creates better health, but I don't know. Anybody else have an idea about that?
I do.
Yeah.
Why don't you ask ChatGPT right now?
Isn't that a good one?
I paid him to say that.
That's funny. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's a question that would be easy to ask one of these AI tools. Who here, let me ask, who here has used ChatGPT to ask questions? So a little over half, I would say. That's actually above average in terms of people that are 60 plus. It's something like, I think it averages around 20%, is that have actually even tried. So try that. But what's nice about AI, just to, if you don't know, is that it taps into things like every article that was written about health issues, including about altitude. So if you ask that question to an AI, what it's doing is then going into its data bank, which is massive, vast, and actually summarizing what humans have actually figured out about that topic. So that's mostly what AI is. The only problem with AI is sometimes it makes up the answer. And they call that hallucination. So this is why when we're talking about AI, we don't say it replaces your doctor. It might be an interesting second opinion or a way to get more background on your situation, but it's still important to actually work with human health professionals, or in this case, if you ask a question about altitude, don't accept its answer as biblical, but more or less, oh, that's interesting, it's probably true, but it bears further research. Yeah.
With all that as a caveat, I asked ChatGPT that question. It gave me quite a long answer. And the practical summary simply is at our elevation, it says, most healthy people adapt well, there's a mild reduction in aerobic capacity, possible modest cardiometabolic benefits, and sleep may be slightly worse. That's its summary.
Interesting.
For a period of time.
Interesting.
For a period of time. You're
Yes.
gonna get used to that. But the other thing is real quick, altitude, they've done studies with people living in the Andes,
Yeah.
and genetically they tend to have bigger lungs.
Yeah, right.
And they produce more blood cells. But there is a problem with that, is that they have higher blood pressure
Okay.
and thicker blood, which
So
can cause other issues.
So it's not a clear.
No, nothing comes for free.
Yeah.
There's always gonna be
There's one.
Al, did you have one?
Oh, one second.
I just Googled something here, Michael, because all of us are so familiar with just Google it.
Yeah.
So if you do not have your AI turned on within Google, what are we getting? Are we getting AI response through Google anyways, or are we just getting a Google response? How's that actually?
Well, Google, before the AI version was available, was just searching for individual references to your question. So it's basically just looking for individual references that match what you just asked. So it gives you, 20 or 100 or 10,000 different answers. But AI, as you're saying, there's a little box on the right now of the Google, text box where you click AI, and usually you click it, it stays on. And basically then it becomes a very good AI tool. So it's just as good as ChatGPT in my opinion. So if you're just Googling, but you turn on the AI function, you're actually getting what's called Gemini, which is Google's version of ChatGPT.
Which can be turned on or off.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go back to the oxygen, in terms of exercise. And I know a lot of athletes train in a low
Higher.
oxygen
Yeah.
room or whatever, so that when they go to lower altitude, they have more oxygen in their blood because they can,
Yeah.
build
So
it up.
That's kind of more athletic performance oriented as opposed to health or longevity. So not necessarily the same.
But not necessarily mutually exclusive.
No, we don't know. I don't know.
As a medical professional person, to deal with the lack of oxygen, some people when they're in a higher altitude, it has to do with a lot with your health, like in the first place. There's a lot of people that have lived at sea level most of their life, and all at once they come up here and they can't deal with that.
Yeah.
Also, people that have had some more pneumonia, you have more scar tissues, you have in your lungs, and other people, as time goes along, being in a polluted area, you have scar tissues in your lungs. So the capacity is, you can't. It doesn't make any difference what exercise you do, it's just because that is already damaged.
Thank you. And that was from a human. Oh, I thought it was okay. All right. So we transition. Before we get into the actual app, and I'll do a little demo, Garlene's going to talk a little bit about having used this app a bit on her own, and also AI.
So I am not a PT physiotherapist. I'm not a personal trainer, but in a past life I was a group fitness instructor. I don't do that anymore. I loved it, but I don't do it anymore because my experience showed me that in a group where you can't observe and work with individuals, you often get injuries, you get people not doing things in a way that's healthy for their body, so more injuries, and so I just stopped doing it because I didn't want to contribute to that. Now, having said that, I still love to have small groups. I still love to talk to people about where they're at and their fitness. But it's, you know, the message that I'm hearing from Michael is the importance of an individual plan. And that is where a tool like ChatGPT is so helpful because there's just so much knowledge out there. If you want an exercise program, I hear a lot, Arlene, I need a program that I can do every day that looks the same and like I turn it on and I can just do it. That's great for a while, but then something happens. You injure, you hit a plateau, you have other objectives that you want to reach, and then all of a sudden, like, you're lost. You stop exercising, and you know the best thing we can do right now is move. So a tool like ChatGPT is so helpful to help each one of us customize our exercise programs every day if need be. And I use myself as an example. Over the last couple of years, I've been rehabbing my own body as a result of being in menopause and post-menopause. I've had a ton of issues with my body. My joints stopped working. And I used to be really strong, taught group fitness, all that, and all of a sudden 1 year I couldn't walk. So I did all the traditional stuff, went to physio, went to all the therapies, went to the surgeons, blah, 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 and none of it worked. And I just started to research on my own and experiment. And as a part of that, I started using ChatGPT to help me just finesse things that I would try and not work. I would put into the program and just say, this is not working. This is the output of my body. It's not helping. I'm hitting a plateau. Give me another example. I happen to be a really logical thinker, so I put in all the information and prompts like a pro. However, I also understand if you've never used or are not an avid user of ChatGPT, it can be daunting. Pulling up the app and staring at a blank page can be tough. So when Michael asked me to try out what he's going to show you, this partner, I tried it and it was excellent because you're not staring at a blank page anymore. You're staring at really pointed questions that you just have to answer one after another, and it'll help you go through your situation and not forget salient points that are going to be really important in order to generate a program that is working for you right now. And if things change, you just add that. You know, I hit a plateau, here's my next objective. You just add that and, you know, redo the program for me or add a couple of exercises, and it can do that in, you know, 30 seconds. So I am a true believer. I use it all the time, and I've used it with people who I talk to when they come and ask me for help with certain things.
Great.
Is that good?
It's super, thank you. So what we want to do is look at this actual app, which is called Physio and Exercise Partner. It's actually part of ChatGPT. It's a GPT. So it's kind of confusing, but in ChatGPT, if you're on your computer, on the left side there's a number of other options. One of which is GPT, which are like little apps. So you click on GPT, and then you have to go to where it actually says Explore GPTs, and then you have to type in Physio and Exercise Partner. Now, when we send out the video link and the other download, I'll also include the link to get you right there. But it's easy just to find if you know Physio and Exercise Partner. By the way, I actually made this app in about 20 minutes. And I actually had ChatGPT walk me through. I said, I want to create an app that does this for 60 plus, you know, in terms of creating customized exercise programs. It walked me through how to create the GPT. Anybody can do it. But I have a little bit of experience in doing this kind of stuff, so anyway, you can look at it and see what you think. It's free and anybody can use it, and we'll send out a link to it. But here's what it says it does. It creates a customized physiotherapy or exercise program by asking one question at a time, screening for red flags, and then generating a progressive plan with clear sets, reps, safety rules, and YouTube demos. So in other words, what you get at the end after answering a series of questions is a printout, either for your home or for the gym. And it goes through a whole progressive set of exercises that are specific to you. You can also put in here, I have a bum right shoulder and I can't use it, or I can't raise my arm over this much, or I get pain in my lower back. You can say exactly what your specific situation is. It'll customize the exercises to that. So without further ado, let's take a look at what that looks like. I'm gonna sit down. So this is ChatGPT, and this is having gotten to this Physio and Exercise Partner GPT. I know you cannot read that in the back, but this is what you get to. So all you have to do is to get it going is either type something in the normal. If you're used to ChatGPT, if you're used to ChatGPT, then there's a box on the bottom where you start typing. So you either can, yeah, that box.
And this is where you would find the GPT apps right here.
Yeah, I have like 40 GPTs up there, but you probably won't have any initially, but I have a lot. So let's say, we'll just pick one of these boxes, which you don't have to start with, but let's say I want a custom exercise program I can do at home. And I'll click on that, and it'll start. Now this will take a little bit, and it starts off by giving you lots of don't sue me paragraphs, such as, before we start, do you have any of these? Chest pain, trouble breathing, fainting, severe headache, weakness, etc. And then it says, call your doctor. So yeah. So you just say no, if you're not currently about to die, you just put no. And so this does take a little time. So then it says, are we fixing a problem, such as a pain, injury, or a rehab, or is it just building fitness? So I think I'm just going to do one example on building fitness. So I'll just say build fitness. But if you have anything, just put if you have an injury, and then it will later on ask you to describe what your injury is. But this is a little faster. So I just typed in build fitness. And then it says, what are your top 1 to 3 fitness goals right now? Such as strength, balance, or fall prevention, mobility, endurance, weight or fat loss, posture, or whatever you wanted to say, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to put, yeah, all of the, yeah, but it says pick 1 to 3. So let's just pick, mobility. Mobility. Balance, okay.
Weight loss.
And weight loss. And I spelled it wrong, but it doesn't matter. When it doesn't matter if you spell it wrong, it knows what you're talking about. So, and then it says, how many days per week can you realistically exercise? And I would say 0, but if you really want to push it, maybe, and about how many minutes per session. So let's just say, you don't want to kill if you're just starting out, let's say 2. And then how many minutes for each one? Maybe 25. How's that? It's kind of doable, right? Now it's thinking. Probably saying this guy's a real loser. Okay, no. Okay. Then it says, do you have any pain, joint problems, dizziness, falls, or medical conditions such as high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, arthritis, etc.? Or do you take any meds that affect exercise or balance? What should I put in? All the above. No, give me two things. What? Osteoporosis? Yeah. Okay. Osteoporosis. And what's the other thing? AFib? Heart disease? All right, jeez.
Well, cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women.
All right. Yeah. It says, have you made your will? No, okay. Okay, then it says, have you been cleared by your cardiologist doctor to exercise? So it's quite careful and making sure that it doesn't immediately kill you. And were you given any specific limits or warnings, such as maximum heart rate or blood pressure concerns, or avoid heavy straining or holding your breath, or avoid high contact? So should we say blood pressure concern?
Yeah.
And yes, we've been cleared.
Oh yeah, right, you gotta say that.
What was it?
Have you been cleared by your cardiologist to exercise?
Yes.
So it asks that specifically. So I'll say yes, cleared. You don't have to type it out too much. It's more or less what somebody else would understand if you were talking to them. Yeah.
If you said no right here, would it stop and say see them first?
It
or would it?
quite probably would, yeah. Or it would electrify the keyboard. Okay, it's thinking. Okay, what home equipment do you have available, since we asked for a home exercise plan? And you could do the same for gym, by the way. But you have a sturdy chair, a wall space, a yoga mat, light dumbbells, resistant bands, steps, stairs. So let's say we have stairs.
All
of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's say have all.
Yeah, it's actually telling you what it's looking for.
Yeah, it tells it what it's thinking as it's going through. Okay, the answer after 35 seconds, which is like an eternity for AI. What's your current activity level and exercise experience? Mostly sedentary? Or do you walk 10 or 20 minutes most days? Are you already doing strength or balance work? Have you had any falls in the last 12 months? What should we answer? So let's say 20 minutes walking a day.
Those are good questions.
Are you doing any strength or balancing work right now? Should we say pool aerobics?
Some of us.
Well, again, you put your own answer to that. And then, have we had any falls in the last 12 months?
One. Yes.
I think we better say no, it might cancel out. I'll say no falls that I want anybody to know about.
Do the same thing with the
I spelled aerobics wrong. So yeah. Yeah. It's going to generate both home and gym versions, but I have it defaulted to always create both a home and a gym option.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You talk about any supplements?
This is not for supplements, no.
No, but how it relates.
Oh, well, you could ask about that. At any time, you can start typing in, would it matter if there are any particular supplements that I'm taking that I should be not taking if I do this exercise program. You could ask it at the end. It would give you an answer. So this is just a structured way of getting a customized exercise plan, but it doesn't prevent you from just typing in anything you want to ask about. It'll keep theoretically should keep on track and eventually create this, these two options, home and gym. But it's really designed around physio and work and exercise, not around medication, issues.
I was talking about gathering YouTube links, number of websites it's using, that it's creating home and gym routines that are about 25 minutes in length, PDFs.
Again, Michael, with the microphone in the back, you can actually ask the question instead of type the question.
Ah, yes,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Make it a lot easier.
So on ChatGPT and other AI apps, you see this little microphone here in the box that you would type? That allows you to just click that and then speak your answers or speak your interaction with it. So a lot of people find that easier to just talk to it as opposed to type. So you don't have to be a typist to use it. So it's still looking for videos. Now it'll come up with a list of YouTube videos for each of these home and gym options. You just click on the YouTube link and what it'll go to is somebody demonstrating that particular movement. So if you don't know what it means to a Hungarian deadlift, you click on Hungarian deadlift, then you see a bunch of Hungarians playing around. No. No, there is something like that though, like a Bulgarian, foot raise or what? I've never heard of this, but no. So you just eventually you will learn the lingo by clicking on these YouTube videos and learning what they're talking about for these movements. So it shows you exactly how to do it properly, each of these movements.
Could you do the same thing with Genesis?
Well, this is specific to ChatGPT, this particular app.
Yeah.
What Gemini you're talking about?
Or Gemini, sorry.
I think Gemini has a similar function. I'm not sure what it's called. It's taking a while. It's over 3 minutes. Oh, it's not for 3 minutes.
10 seconds.
It's still analyzing.
Michael, can you go back and change your answer that maybe it'll figure it out quicker?
Yeah, you could probably just type in saying, oh, I forgot that question. A couple questions ago, I answered it incorrectly. Here's the right answer. Can you adjust the plan to this answer?
Or just write it in a way that ChatGPT is gonna understand it quicker, if it's running on.
Oh.
Like the last few answers you've given has had trouble with because they're very, very short.
No, I have it on extended thinking. So part of it is I should have switched. There's a little option here. You may or may not have access to this. I don't know. But there's either fast answer or extended thinking.
Okay.
So this is under extended thinking. It always takes longer, but it's theoretically going to give you better answers.
But also when you're looking at senior citizens and you're looking at the possibilities also that it's probably computing in that they didn't fully answer the questions and things like hip issues and any other minor tweaks that happen, there's a lot of warnings and it ends up being very thorough. So it's probably also including that in its research.
But I've also seen it get stuck. And what I did, that when I saw it get stuck once before, and it might be stuck now, I just typed something and it came out. And I'm about to do that.
Michael, is this the paid version or is this the free version?
This is the paid version, but the free version would look exactly the same. And it would just be probably faster and may not be as thorough, but it should be as good, I would say. I'm going to try to say something like finish.
Yeah, 3
Yeah.
minutes.
That's kind of unusual that it's taking that long.
You did log into the Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's been working on it.
Yeah. No, it could just be taking a long time.
Michael, it could be everyone's on their phone on the Wi-Fi.
Well, let me just show you something.
I just took your app that you sent me, and
Yeah.
I did my own little experiment with it, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah, fast, yeah.
Searching
Yeah.
now.
It's probably a lot finished faster. Oh, there we go, never mind. It actually is coding while it's doing it in the background. It's doing coding, computer coding, in order to create something. But I'm going to just reduce this and show you what the output looks like. I did one for myself recently. And okay, that's the handout that we'll send out. But this is the home physio and exercise program version. So I did it for myself, and this tells me my weekly schedule, my exercise list, like power press. I don't know what that is, so I looked that up. This goes on and on, and then there's safety rules and pain rules that you would expect some muscle effort, avoid sharp pain. And then it says back off if the pain is over 4 out of 10 or dizziness, that kind of stuff. So it helps you make sure you don't overdo it. And then after a while, it'll ask you to give it a rating about where you are, what your pain level is, and then it'll recreate a better, and it'll keep moving you up as you go along. So as Arlene was saying, this isn't a static thing. It will actually keep adjusting its results or its recommendations. So you see here, there's all these YouTube links that will tell you what is a goblet squat. I have no idea. Incline push-up, I know that, or dumbbell, pallet press, farmer carry, split squat. So if you don't know these things, just click on a YouTube video link like that one, and it will go to YouTube, and it will show you, here's what that looks like. No, that's good. That's in only 2 weeks that could be you. No, this is the actual link. This is the YouTube link for a split squat. So very basic. If you don't know what a split squat is, it takes you to it very slowly and shows you what is it. So here's the guy doing a split squat. Okay? So that's pretty easy. So if you don't know what a term means, you just look at the video, and now you know. So it's very helpful that way. So I'm going to go back to ChatGPT and see whether or not it's finished its deliberations.
Very thorough.
It's going to fit everything. Now it has to figure out how to print it out on 2 pages. So I give it format. Give us a 2-column PDF format. So there's a lot of programming, you might say, that went into how it looks or what it does. But essentially it's using ChatGPT, but it's actually also has a lot of prompts behind there that you don't see that are helping shape it to be better. Okay, any questions about this? Again, we're going to send out the first handout as well as the link to this app if you want to create your own plan. It will then create these 2 PDFs, which you can then print out and save on your computer or print them out in paper. And we're also going to send the link to the video.
So, for instance, if people used all the equipment that was in the gym and they mentioned that as what they have for equipment, the exact types, whether it be bands, whether it be the machine or treadmill and all that stuff, it will factor all that in and create a program for you based on how often you want to exercise and your ability, including any medical or physical condition that prevents you from certain things.
Yes, and as Arlene was mentioning, another approach with ChatGPT is there's this little plus sign near the box. If you press the plus sign, it'll allow you to also upload things like other documents or pictures. So you could actually go and take a picture of the gym, or take a picture of the exercise equipment you want to use in the gym, and say, develop my program using this equipment. Or same at home. You take a picture of the bands you have, the weights you have, and then click the button and upload that picture and ask it to customize it and make sure it's only for using this equipment. So very customizable, and it would just recreate the whole thing again. Yeah.
when you go to YouTube for the videos, are they specific? I know they're specific to the exercise, but there must be 50 or 100 people showing you how to do a
Split squat, yeah.
How does, you know, my concern with this, having been an exercise person and I'm working with a lot of people over the years, is there's a lot of things you can do wrong.
Yeah.
Very small things
Yeah.
in the split squat that can affect your
Yeah,
knees.
you get over your knee, yeah.
You know, and how do you know you're getting the best professional up there on YouTube explaining the exercise to you? Do you have an opportunity to go to many of them and choose?
So the question is, how does it really give you the right information so that you're doing each of these exercises correctly? And I would say there's no way you can do that, because you could be looking at the correct video but still do the exercise incorrectly. So one thing that I think is important to add here is that this is a program that we would recommend, that you should then show to an actual physio person or an exercise expert and say, this is the routine I would like to practice. What do you think? Is it appropriate for me? Do you have anything to add? Can you watch me go through it and correct my posture if I'm off in any way? So that is really the best due diligence in terms of doing it properly and not accidentally injuring yourself on this kind of thing. So I think that's a very good suggestion, a good point to bring up for sure.
The other thing you can do is when you're having ChatGPT create your program, you can say, I want modified versions of all the exercises and any videos that you show me. Because that split squat that you just saw, that was not a modified version. That's someone who's strong and who can do a split squat. That is not a beginner split squat.
Okay, so this finally finished after 6 minutes. So I'll just show you, this is the first PDF, assuming that works. Sometimes that doesn't work. Oh, there it does. And so you just open the PDF. And there is our exercise program. So here it is right here. So you have your home physio and exercise program. This is not medical advice. Consult a qualified professional before starting or changing your exercise. But it goes through your weekly schedule, what you do for each session, the warm-up, the exercise list, and then it goes through safety and pain rules, the progression you would take over 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the check-in loop after 3 sessions. Tell me whether the pain is 1 to 10, or your best and worst exercises, or the next day flare-ups. What equipment did you use? I'll adjust the plan. You tell it, it'll redo the plan. So, and then the illustrations are here again with the YouTube videos. So that is this customized exercise plan in a nutshell. Any questions on this?
Yeah, I have that one.
That was pretty much easy. Yeah, but you can see it. I would say I forgot that I had it on extended thinking. It thinks longer. So I'd say the free version is going to be much faster and probably be just as good. So give it a try. We'll send out the link as well as the other information. Any other questions?
The link I got, Michael, was from you was a health concern one, right?
Yeah.
That's different than this one.
Oh no, sorry. The health concern is different. Yeah, I have another GPT called Health Concern.
Right.
That's different.
Okay. Health concern co-pilot.
Yeah, that's another one that I created, and that has to do with if you have a new health concern, and before you go to your doctor, if you want to kind of check out what it could be, and then have it create a actual summary for your doctor of what your
That's what I tried.
summary for your doctor, as well as the questions that you want to have answered by your doctor. You print that out and bring it to your doctor in your next visit, and it's a much more effective way to run your next appointment with your doctor. So I could send that link out as well. All right, that's great. Thank you for your attention. And, good luck.